training with those people who he was training with at that time, and you got to remember there were Inglis, Folau, obviously Cameron Smith, Cooper Cronk, Billy Slater. What a breeding ground as a kid to learn your talents and be a part of that team.
The fact that they trusted him, when they needed to move those sort of secondary parts on, sort of thing, because there was the spine and then there was the secondary parts, wasn't there really? And Gareth Winnock was trusted to be the top of that secondary list for a number of years for that Storm side. So, and then when he was the main man,
Billy Slater's understudy. Then
when he was the main man at the Dragons, he still, he still didn't. It's not like that pressure got to him. He actually performed very strongly at times for the Dragons. Not quite as consistently, but I guess when you've got a side around you, that's not going to be as consistent. But he still delivered. Right, we'll move on to another guy who would be close to that kind of career man thing. He did play a little bit in Super League first, but I've labelled him as one of the greatest, because I think Sam Burgess is one of the greatest British players to ever go down under and make a career for himself there. He was the grand final and Clive Churchill medal winner in 2014. He was Lock of the Year that year. 182 games and 44 tries over 2 spells, 9 seasons in all for the Rabbitohs. Rich, what sort of impact do you think Sam Burgess made really on the NRL?
Well, I think huge. It was before Sam came over, there'd been a bit of a drought of solid Englishmen who'd really made an impact in the competition, and this discussion we're having is off the back of what he did, came over and then reinvigorated that talent pool of British players coming back out. I know obviously Ellis was there probably before him. I think obviously Adrian Morley. Yeah. All right. Okay. So Adrian Morley had, obviously been another one, but for that spate of Morley was seen kind of almost of a one-off, wasn't he, at the time? But that trend of getting players out off the back of that, James Graham, Ellis, and he just set that scene. But he's just such a competitor, and such a big body and such a personality as well. He was a superstar, wasn't he? And I think his warm, endearing kind of northern charisma is Aussies kind of warm to that, because they see it as a we're very much of a similar personality in society kind of thing. That's why I think rugby league's such a prominent force in Australia, because it embodies all their spirit, or our spirit. I'm an Australian now, as much as it does that kind of northern English grit kind of thing, and he epitomises that, doesn't he? That's
the narrative-led win of the Clive Churchill medal underlined that completely, didn't it? And also, even at the back end last year, he sort of played some games through injury that he thought, well, I can help my team here with my leadership qualities. I mean, Paul, do you have any sort of different take as kind of more of the two Aussies seeing him come in, and did he do as much as we all feel he did?
Yeah, he did. Like, he's loved. Like I said, another one, the fans took to him straight away, and you can only see, like, he gets hounded by the newspapers over here. He is like a A-list celebrity over here. That's how big he is here, and you don't get that without being respected,
Yeah.
Here,
they won't care as much if you weren't idolised. You wouldn't sell papers, so they wouldn't care as much.
No, he's one of my top 3 footballers of all time. He's easily the best forward I've ever seen. That's how high I rate him.
Well, the thing is, he could play all the positions in the pack equally well. He could be a front rower, he could be a ball playing loose forward, he could be a sort of wide running second row, he could do all of those things, and he did them all to the standard where he was one of the best 3 in the world in that position at that time.
He was quick as
well. Play centre in rugby, though.
No, that's right. Yeah, but he was quick in his
youth. He had some money though, did he, for a bit?
Yeah, but he was quick. He wasn't a slouch. He was like Morley. They were fast guys. They were big, and Peacock as well was no slouch when he was in his prime as a back rower moving into the front row. Burgess could move. He was powerful and fast.
Right, he's like the greatest of the players whose career has been and gone in the NRL. We've got some that are still going strong in the NRL to talk about. So we've got Elliot Whitehead and Josh Hodgson, both at the Raiders. Both players very consistent during their time there. 24 tries in 101 games so far for Whitehead. 108 games, and co-captain, for Josh Hodgson, very key player for the Raiders. Tom Burgess, we talked about just a bit before, because how can we not when we're mentioning all his brothers? He was a grand final winner back in 2014. 8 seasons so far in the NRL, 139 games and 9 tries. And James Graham, I mean, he is in that Sam Burgess category, isn't he, as one of the greatest ever British players to play down under. 8 seasons so far, prop of the year back in 2014 when he was at the Bulldogs, obviously now with the Dragons. 180 games, 10 tries, but it's more like the presence on the field. So of those guys, James Graham is the closest to the end of his career. Maybe there's less left to come. But Paul, what do you have to say about those 4 in particular?
Just on Josh Hodgson, I don't think I've ever been more wrong on a player. Like when it was announced that he was coming into the NRL,
I agree.
Really?
I mean, it barely feels like it was announced he was that much of a non-story before he went to the NRL.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think I've ever been so wrong on a player. So
I agree. I completely
agree. But he plays a lot like Robbie Farah. He likes to be the centre of attention, and I don't know, like he needs a passive halfback, which is why he worked well with Aiden Caesar last year. And I've got my doubts how he's going to go with George Williams this year, so but we'll get to that.
We will definitely get to that one.
But James Graham, like I said, he's another one that, like you say, he was just below Sam Burgess, rather.
Yeah.
When he came out, the way he played like a halfback, like we here in Australia have never seen a prop play like that. You know, he was like a throwback to those old ball-playing big men that England used to produce all the time. And
right.
Yeah, it was a breath of fresh air here in Australia. Like we never see a prop that could play like a half. So
it created an area with so much more ball movement, didn't it?
That's right. He played so tight to the line, yeah.
Running out of dummy half, first man hit up, and then let the 3 pivots kind of do all the ball playing. This changed like so much more ball movement, and it actually meant in that Bulldogs team in particular, you know, pre-smacking people up Ben Barber, used to be able to find so much space because of that. You had pacey, skillful players who could find space because you had big men willing to almost lose a shoulder by running at the line, then passing the ball.
Yeah. Now, and as a Leeds fan, you know, I had nothing that would allow me to love James Graham, and I was one of the people who chanted "Fat Ginger Bastard" on the terraces for him for as long as hard as I could, you know. But coming to the NRL, I completely fell in love with him, and it gave me an opportunity to kind of really warm to him. And because of his media commitments, and you get to see what he's like off the field at St Helens and Super League. You never really saw that because you don't. But over here, again, he's somebody who's on TV now 2 or 3 times a week on the NRL channel with Fox, with one of their magazine shows. He's on that 3 nights a week, and he's quality, he's well spoken, he's passionate, and you know, he's just a legend of a bloke. And he's one of the players throughout all the playing group across all the clubs. He's a really, really popular bloke, and you know, and it's that what the Aussies love is somebody who's just an ultimate competitor. You know what I mean? If you're willing just to leave it all out on the field and just be an animal on the field, and then once you get in the clubhouse or you know, people get to see what you like and you're just a sweetheart, then that speaks volumes about you. And he's one of my favourite players, and I'd never ever thought back when in the St Helens days when I was on the South Stand, you know, spitting fire and fury at him, that I ever thought that he'd be somebody who I absolutely adore. But yeah, I love him. He's one of my favourite English players of all time, is James Graham.
So, Tompkins aside, this has been a bit of a loving overall, and I still threw in love there. But Tom Burgess,
and I did a little bit. I said it all right.
I'm going to say something a bit maybe less loving here. Tom Burgess, I wonder if his NRL career's only had the longevity it's had because of the stock that he comes from, because of the family all being there, and I feel harsh saying this because I do think he's got better as a player, but I think in his first 4 or 5 years he was robbing a jersey a while for South. So he made so many mistakes. I was surprised that he got to sort of stay in that side for as long as he did. I do now think he's come out of that totally the other side the last 2 seasons. But I was in his early days in the NRL. I felt there was a lot of sort of nepotism there or what have you. Sort of with Sam being the big man of Souths, that Tom got so many games.
But I think you can put Luke into that, can't you? It was let's keep them sweet. If we got them together, we're going nowhere.
That's the thing. Luke kind of got the amount of games his ability.
He probably deserved. Yeah. I'd go with that.
Yeah. Right. There's more and more players finding themselves in the NRL now, turning up from all sorts of parts of their career, and we've picked out a group of players who've been there in the last 10 years who there's more to come from. Herbie Farnsworth, he's a young player who basically moved over there as a kid or a teenager and has found his way into the Broncos system. 2 games so far, 20-year-old, can play anywhere in the outside back, so there's a lot of talent and promise there. Ryan Hall, we're going to have to really, Rich, I mean, we've got a time limit on this show, so when we get to talking about Ryan Hall, he had a long and successful Super League and international career. He failed to score in his 6 games in his first NRL season for the Roosters last year, so you'll hope there's more to come if he gets into that unbelievable Roosters side. Callum Watkins, Paul, is another player that's on the Gold Coast. A mid-season switch to the Titans last year. Played 6 times. Kind of wasn't really fully fit, I don't think. He's going to hope for a good off-season, and a new coach might get him more opportunities in 2020. Ryan Sutton, promising in 2019. Probably unlucky to miss out on the grand final selection with some... in a group of good young forwards at that Raiders side. 20 games so far and 1 try. And John Bateman, he was one of the stars of the whole NRL season last year, let alone one of the stars of the British players. Maybe the only player to come out of Great Britain's tour as well with any sort of credibility. Unfortunately, he's come out of that with an injury too, so he's getting his shoulder cleaned out. But he was second row of the year in the NRL last year. 23 games and 5 tries for the Raiders. So what you can have a little say on your Leeds guys, Rich, about their careers past. I'm not going to stop you, but what excites you for what's to come for this group of players?
Oh, look, it's a tough one, isn't it? I think, again, I don't want to be a doom and gloomer, but Ryan Hall, and again, came at the wrong time, has gone into the season with 2 injuries. I really don't see him playing much football. I did see some highlights today of Watkins in the pre-season games, and he actually looks fit and looks much better than he has done. But it is the pre-season. Yeah, he does, and it's the pre-season, so they're not playing at full speed, and it's not all hands on deck. But he looked to be involved, and he looked to know his place in that team. And a change of coach who has got a lot of faith in Super League may do him well. I think Sutton goes from strength to strength, and I think Bateman, he's going to continue to do what he does best.
Yeah, anything from you, Paul, on that group of players? What have you seen of Herbie Farnsworth?
Only a little bit, me, but no.
I don't see it happening for him either. With Ryan Hall, though, he came out too old. He was too old. He came at that age.
It was almost like a appreciation offer, wasn't it? You've had such a great career.
Yeah.
Like I said, at his best, he was the world's best winger. But he's come too old. And John Bateman. Oh, mate, again, he's another one that's got a bit of a cult following over here. He's doing car commercials in Canberra and things like that, so the Aussie public are really taking to John Bateman as well. So
absolutely.
And Callum Watkins, I think he's going to do it. I believe, I've seen enough of him, at international level to see what he can do. And like I said, Justin Holbrook, obviously coaching in the Super League, he'd be aware of his talents, and he'll just have that confidence in him that that Garth Brennan
correct.
Garth Brennan never wanted him. He actually came out and said he never wanted him. So
you wonder if he wanted anyone in that squad. I just think that was one of the most ridiculous appointments ever. Hiring a coach who hates all your players.
You wanted
can't make anyone play for him.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree with what you're saying on that. I mean, 2017 World Cup Callum Watkins and 2018 Callum Watkins were just a level that said NRL player, absolutely. And then he got injured, didn't he? So right, we'll take a breath. But those players that we've just talked about will come come into the conversation as we now look ahead to what's going to happen in 2020 and the biggest